77 WABC and Bergen Newbridge Medical Center honor the life of legendary broadcaster and our friend, Ernie Anastas.
Hi, it's Ernie Anastas. You know, your thoughts can affect how you feel. Bergen Newbridge Medical Center is the largest hospital in New Jersey, providing comprehensive, equitable, compassionate, and high-quality emergency inpatient and outpatient medical care, plus mental health services and substance use disorder treatment. The Bergen Newbridge team can address your total health needs in one convenient location. Call 201-225-7130 for an appointment or newbridgehealth.org.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
For the time being, the ceasefire remains in place?
You know, it's unbelievably weak, I would say. I would call it the weakest right now. After reading that piece of garbage they sent us, I didn't even finish reading it. They said, I'm not going to waste my time reading it. I would say it's one of the weakest right now. It's on life support. They understand these are all medical people. Dr. Oz, life support is not a good thing. Do you agree?
Diagnostic.
I would say the ceasefire is on massive life support, where the doctor walks in and says, sir, your loved one has approximately a 1% chance of living.
Yow. Sounds like there's going to be more wah-wah. That was President Trump earlier today from the White House. Welcome, my friends. Monday edition of Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour, fastest hour in American media. We have a lot to do today, and I do, of course, want to get started with it all. Glad you're here. One thing that we are definitely going to talk about is the Democrat desperation after their fiasco in Virginia. And, of course, we are being pummeled with stories of race-related and politics from the left. Everything is racist that they don't like. The Supreme Court is corrupt because they don't like it. The rulings that are coming out of the Supreme Court. These people. There is also, if we have time today, and if we don't have time today, we're going to make time this week. There's an amazing article at Fox Digital today, 6 different ways that prove the wealthy pay a lot more than their fair share. And this ought to be in every newspaper across America. It ought to be taught in every school. Hopefully we can get to that. Since we started with the president, I want to give you a brief programming note for those of you in the New York area and beyond. If you don't live in the New York area, you can go to the WABC.com website, and I'm not trying to thank you for our affiliates for being indulgent for just a moment. Tomorrow morning at 8:30, Sid Rosenberg, one of the greatest broadcasters in this industry, is having President Donald Trump on his show again. He has had the president as his guest before, and I'm telling you, it is always news making, news breaking, and just a delight to listen to. Sid Rosenberg at 8:30 Eastern Time in the morning will have President Donald Trump as his guest. So, please do a Google if you don't remember Sid Rosenberg. 77 WABC Radio is the New York flagship station of the Red Apple Audio Networks, and it is, of course, just the premier talk radio station in the New York vicinity. 50,000 clear channel blowtorch. One heck of a radio station. And Sid Rosenberg, tomorrow, 8:30 a.m., you can Google, find out where to get the app to listen online. Sid Rosenberg with President Donald Trump tomorrow morning at 8:30. So many things going on. We have so much to do, as I said, so let's get started. The Supreme Court is, in Virginia, has followed the Constitution. You wouldn't know it listening to the commentary of liberals, and we have a lot of that, brief segments of that commentary here. There was a story in the New York Times over the weekend about the desperation that Democrats have. There's a story in the Daily BS today about it as well. Virginia Democrats so enraged that this effort that they had to blatantly ignore the Constitution of Virginia that members of their own party warned against. Their own consultants, in some cases, said, don't do this. The way that you're doing it, you are inviting it to be thrown out. That notwithstanding, Democrats are so galled, they had a weekend call over and here's the New York Times version of it. A private call reveals Democrats' desperation over tossing map during a private discussion on Saturday that included Democratic House members from Virginia and Representative Hakeem Jeffries from New York, the minority leader. The lawmakers vented their anger at their defeat at the Virginia Supreme Court. They spoke about a collective determination to flip 2 or 3 Republican seats under the existing map and discussed a bank shot proposal to redraw the congressional lines anyway. In other words, tell the Supreme Court, tell the law to just pee off. You know, it's off. And or some would use another letter, F off, or whatever. And just go ahead and do it anyway, because that's who Democrats are. They did not land on a specific course of action, reports the New York Times. However, one of the most desperate gambits that they have is a discussion where they talked about getting rid of the Supreme Court altogether. The Supreme Court ruled against them on the basis of the Constitution. The Democrat Party reaction is, okay, let's get rid of the damn Supreme Court. Let's just get rid of it. This is insanity. But their plan is to do this. There's an age limit that they want to impose, and what they want to do is adjust the age limit that members on the Supreme Court can serve. They want to make it invalidate all of the Supreme Court justices by saying pretty much, you're too old to serve, get rid of them, and then appoint, since they run things now in the legislature, they want to appoint new Supreme Court justices who will go along with their plans to obliviate the Constitution in Virginia. These people are sick. And this is actively under discussion. It is unbelievable. They would invoke a January ruling by a circuit court in Tazewell County, Virginia, that says the 2026 constitutional amendment to redraw the maps is invalid, and try to just go again. These people are desperate. They're angry. They're desperate. So, let's just get rid of the Supreme Court. And believe me, if they could do that to the United States Supreme Court, they would. As I said, the reactions, ladies and gentlemen, are, let's just listen to a few, shall we? Let's start off, Carlos, with Jen Kiggins, just explaining pretty much what I just explained, cut 2. And here is this.
Hey, it's Jen Kiggins. Last week's gerrymandering decision from the Virginia Supreme Court was certainly a victory for the rule of law. It was a victory for fairness, and it was a victory for fair representation in the Commonwealth of Virginia. But you need to know what the Democrats are now bringing to the table. If you read the New York Times yesterday, there was a conversation with Hakeem Jeffries, who wants more than anything to be the next Speaker of the House, and the Democratic congressional delegation. They want to fire the Virginia Supreme Court. They want to lower the mandatory retirement age so that it's younger than the youngest judge, so that they fire all the members and reappoint new members. That's the most un-American slap in the face to the Constitution thing I've ever heard. You guys need to pay attention to what the Democrats in Virginia are bringing to the table. They can't beat us at the ballot box, so they're resorting to a lot of shady tactics. Pay attention and stay tuned.
Exactly right. She, by the way, is a representative there. Now, where else would you go for, the last place I'd go for informed decisions would be ABC TV, The View. However, they do have occasionally good clips that I can use for their sheer entertainment value, and they do not fail today. Let us go to 3 members of The View. Alyssa Farah Griffin, their pretend conservative. Whoopi Goldberg, who seems to be in charge of the program, as it were, and Sunny Hostin, who, believe it or not, I think is a lawyer, even though it's hard to tell. Let us go in order. Cut 3, followed by 4, and then 5. Let it rip, Carlos.
And then this happened. There was another seismic shift in voting rights last Friday after the Virginia Supreme Court struck down a redistricting map that had been approved by Virginia voters. Okay, they said, this is what we want. They came in and said, no, that's not what you want. We're changing it. So the ruling now gives Republicans a big boost as we approach the midterms. And Democrats are a little pissed. It's kind of crazy.
It's not at all what, you just roll it. It's not at all what happened. Cut 3.
Party says, we care about voters' rights and,
wait a minute.
People are cheating and we're in there. We're going to make sure that they don't.
I'm looking for Alyssa Griffin.
Cheat.
I think we got a little mix-up going on here with our audio. I'm anxious to see how this happened and why did this always happen to me. Yes, Alyssa Griffin. We don't have Alyssa Griffin. We had 2 of the same cut. Jeez Louise. Okay, let's try Sunny Hostin and see whether we have that one in. Cut 4, Miss Sunny Hostin, the supposed lawyer of the bunch, on The View.
I hope that's true. I think it's tough when you do gerrymander. I think it's tough because you do dilute the black vote, and people are saying, I've read places where people are saying, well, this is not about race. If race is if black people are the backbone of the Democratic Party and you're gerrymandering on a partisan basis for the Republicans, of course it's about race. It's about diluting the black vote. That's 100% what it's about. And when it comes to, you say it's a race to the bottom. It is a race to the bottom, but the Republicans started that race. They started that race in Texas, and then they continued it and continued it and continued it, and we just saw it in Tennessee. And so what I do appreciate about and in Florida, what I do appreciate about the Democrats is they're finally realizing that the Republicans are not playing by the rules, that they're drafting their own rules, and it's time for the Democrats to play by those new rules. And that's what they have tried to do. So instead of going, as Sarah, you say, to sort of the top, because they don't have a lot of states where they are, especially in the South, where they rule sort of the legislature, they decided to take it to the people. I think that's the right way to try to fight this. So you go to California, you go to Virginia, and now the Republicans did something that I don't think the Democrats expected. The Republicans decided to overturn the rule of the people.
No, they didn't. The damn Republicans didn't do anything. That is highly inaccurate. What happened was the Democrats disobeyed knowingly, after advice was given to them, the procedure to do what they wanted to do, and instead decided to go with an unconstitutional procedure. The Supreme Court of Virginia said you can't do this. This was unconstitutional the way you did it. Period. It is a matter of law. It is not a matter of your opinion, my opinion. It's a matter of the justice's opinion looking at the Constitution of Virginia, which it sounds like Sunny Hostin hasn't read as a lawyer before she goes off on this half-cracked analysis that this is all just a political play, not a constitutional play. And as for diluting the black vote, we're going to talk about that. Because I'm so tired of hearing about this black monolithic vote like it's the property of Democrat, and like black people are the property of the Democrat Party, and that's it. Done with it.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And here's that phony conservative, Alyssa Farah Griffin, from The View.
I come from a place of I 100% always, any day of the week, oppose partisan gerrymandering. I think it's bad for America. I think we talk a lot about democracy and the importance of representation. And I think when both sides get in the mud and decide to play, nobody wins, and both decide to get into this. But here's the problem with me. I think Ted Lieu hit it in the clip. This was very foreseeable. This was kind of a technicality that the Supreme Court decided to get hung up on. He even kind of alludes to the fact that they maybe wouldn't have even brought it up in the first place because it wouldn't pass. And Donald Trump has been conveying for the last decade that he plans to do this, that he wanted state assemblies to redraw their congressional maps, to create more Republican seats. What it becomes is a race to the bottom, and right now Trump and his team are playing like three-dimensional chess, and it feels like the Dems are just not playing that well. In my opinion, no one should be doing it. I think it's bad. I'm going to reiterate that over and over. It's why you have hyper-polarized partisan districts where you can't vote people out. But it just feels like Democrats once again getting outmaneuvered. And I think it's why people throw up their hands and feel like their vote doesn't count.
Look, I would agree with some of the things she said, but I'm going to just say this. This was not just some mere technicality. The Constitution of Virginia, like the Constitution of America, is not a technicality. It is the law of the land. And Democrats violated the law of Virginia and got called out on it. Why is that so difficult to say? By the way, I found out why these things always happen to me, because I sent in the wrong stuff to the crew. I'm not going to let them take the blame for something I did. They're too good at what they do. I blew it and sent them the wrong thing twice. So that's why it always happens to me. Some people can multitask and some people, not so much.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Folks, at the end of the show, we're doing something new. It is the clip of today. We have a doozy for you today. It is, I will tell you a little hint, it's from a social media woman responding to some of the politics that have gone on this week, last week, the last 10 days, now the last actually 14 days have been disastrous for Democrats. Let us go to a discussion from Chuck Todd, or as Rush used to call him, F. Chuck Todd, and Chris Cizilla. He formerly of the Washington Post as a columnist, read him for many years before he moved over to CNN, and they dumped him. And now this is interesting point from these two, and they are not conservatives by a long stretch, or I would not even say they're moderates. They're just Democrats. Cut a Chuck Todd, F. Chuck Todd, and Chris Cizilla.
Friday is 1% of 1%, regardless.
Right.
The amount of people in politics or who follow politics closely who are Democrats, who were immediately willing to say rigged, bias.
Yeah.
That's exactly how Donald Trump reacts to everything.
It is.
You are literally adopting
as bad as
him.
Trump. Yeah.
It's remarkable. It's like, can you hear yourself?
And, I don't want to sit here and say I told you so, but this is exactly what I feared with the second Trump term, is that there'd be a group of Democrats who will now say, oh, he's changed the rules, let's play by his rules now. And you're like, no. I mean, look, go ahead and do it, but don't be surprised when voters sort of decide, man, you guys are full of too.
Yep.
And you guys aren't serious about the democracy.
Nope.
You just are trying to rig it in your direction.
Correct.
And all you're doing is strengthening Trump's argument and Trump's grip.
Let me just say this. The things that Donald Trump complained about have been or are in the process of being either proven or disproven once and for all. What happened in Fulton County, it is being examined right now. Now, either they're going to come out and say, yes, there was some fraud there, or no, there wasn't. But this idea that the media, the narrative is everything Donald Trump said was wrong and he didn't show any evidence, and all this other narrative stuff has just been that. It has been a mainstream media narrative that they themselves have never done the research or the journalism to prove or disprove. We do know that the Russian collusion story that they invested all this time and energy in was a hoax. And that information is already out there. I would like to see this entire charade that was the first term, happened in Donald Trump's first term, and it is important to correct the history. By the way, there's an effort underway in the House. Jim Jordan involved. Also, it was Darrell Issa that suggested the resolution to expunge, and this has never been done in American history, to expunge the 2 impeachments of Donald Trump because they were based on false and illicit premises. So we'll see how that goes. Now, you just heard these 2 Democrats talk about cheating. I'm looking for the article right now. Excuse me. We're going to have to get to this wealthy article a little bit later. Democrats are not only fussing about Virginia, they're also fussing about a state that they have locked up and have locked up for decades, California. This is a headline out of the Los Angeles Times, which I subscribe to and read every day. Extremely scary. Specter of an all GOP governor's race spurs push to remake open primary. The current system they have, they call it a jungle. Don't read anything racist into it. It probably is. Their jungle primary out there allows the 2 top candidates, regardless of party, to move on to the runoffs. That has led to instances in which 2 Democrats or 2 Republicans when have 2 Republicans faced off in the general election? Anyway, they call it the jungle primary. What it was supposed to do was make sure Republicans would never have a chance at winning a statewide election again. And up until now, it's worked. But now you have the possibility that it may be 2 Republicans. They're leading in the polls. And by the way, they're not leading by huge numbers, but they're leading. That is enough to scare these people in California enough that right now there has been an application filed that would alter the California voting system by reverting to a traditional primary. They put in the jungle primaries to make sure that Republicans would never gain office again. Now with the very prospect that might be, Republicans are going to win anyway, they are quite frustrated. And what they're doing with their frustrations are to say, you know what, we can't do this. We can't have a system that allows Republicans to win. Let's change it back. You talk about rigging something? The entire state of California is rigged. Okay, moving from that, very quickly, not going to play the whole thing. CBS, Disgrace the Nation. Face the Nation. Mark Kelly was on. Cut 8. Senator Mark Kelly. This is some of the questions he was on with Margaret Brennan.
Friday is one.
What? Yeah, cut 9.
Yes, Margaret. We have. We've been tracking it. A number of times we've been briefed by the Pentagon on specific munitions. Actually, it's been pretty detailed on Tomahawks, ATACMS, SM-3s, THAAD rounds, Patriot rounds, so those interceptor rounds to defend ourselves. And the numbers are, I think it's fair to say it's shocking, how deep we have gone into these magazines, because this president got our country into this without a strategic goal, without a plan, without a timeline. And because of that, we've expended a lot of munitions. And that means the American people are less safe, whether it's a conflict in the Western Pacific with China or somewhere else in the world. The munitions are depleted. You may have seen me ask the Secretary of Defense this question about how long it's going to take to replenish. We're talking about years.
Well, Admiral Paparo, the head
All right, let's stop it right here. He got all this stuff from a classified briefing. He's out telling the world and telling America's enemies, guess what, guys? Our munitions have been depleted. It might take us years to actually get it. This man is either a complete, please don't let me use words. This is the height of idiocy. And it may be something more than that. How dare this man take information from a classified briefing, go spread the word around the world. Our munitions are depleted. I've been asking how long it's going to take to get the munitions back. Why, it might take years. Great, Mark. Tell the enemy. Hegseth is launching an investigation. This is unconscionable. and it should be intolerable. Taking information from classified briefings, blurting it on TV so America's enemies can hear that we are, quote unquote, well, in his words, not a quote, but our munitions may be lacking. What are you trying to do? Invite an attack on us while we're re-upping? Because we are trying to save the world from a nuclear Iran? And these people are just so filled with hatred they can't contain themselves? Moving on. Hollywood. Giancarlo Esposito. I like this guy's work as an actor. He's been in some things. I always liked him. But once again, Hollywood. Cut 17. Listen to this load of it.
This is time for a revolution. It's time for it, and they don't even know that's what they're starting. You know, some very rich old white men are exerting their power to suppress our own people, thus creating a feeling of civil war in the streets, preparing the haters to hate, teaching them how to shoot. They're not even trained right, to kill. This is all a preparation for a very insidious problem that's happening in our world. And for me, I have to speak out that we will not be iced out. This is not going to happen.
What is he talking about?
They can't take us all down. If the whole world showed up on Putin's doorstep or on the Iranians' doorstep or in Washington, it would stop. They'll kill 550 million, however, but the rest of us would survive with a new. This is time for a revolution. It's time for it, and they don't even know that's what they're starting. But we have to be strong enough to know that we. Okay,
it's time for a revolution. They don't know what they're starting. I don't know who's revolting against who. First, it starts with this racist line. Then he goes over to the Russians and the Putin and what is he even talking about? Who is doing all of this, and to whom? They're killing our own people. Who is he talking about? He was speaking with a Variety reporter, by the way. It just makes no sense. Okay, Ashley Allison was on CNN, and cut 14, I'm going to use this. Oh, we have to take a break, but let me see. Do we have time, Carlos, to fit this one in before the break? Let's play it right now. This was CNN, Ashley Allison.
Like, y'all are cheating. Okay, just accept it. Yeah, let me just finish. You're cheating. And because you politically are not favorable right now. And so this is the only way you would actually win the House is by drawing maps. But let's say you were politically favored. The reality is these maps from the origin story of when Texas was being redrawn are hurting one group of voters, and that is black voters. Black voters were losing power in Texas. The Voting Rights Act was gutted. In less than a week, you all took black power away from black people in Tennessee and South Carolina and Louisiana. So perhaps, maybe this cheating might work out in your favor, but let me tell you, there is one group of voters that will not be silenced in this moment. There is one group of voters that always have realized what that Make America Great was, and you have really erupted the sleeping giant that has passively been looking and seeing what this administration is doing. Not even like what I say Trump administration always does, a whack-a-mole. They have surgically attacked black voters since day one, from cutting DEI and now to the Voting Rights Act. And I want to see what they do in November.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
This is a social media woman. Have no idea of her name. I can find out. I'm going to try. In fact, I'm trying to find out. She wants to talk about Memphis and Democrats. Cut 20, clip of the day.
Y'all, these congressional districts, they don't belong to the Democrat Party. Now, they think they do. I told y'all they believe that these voters are their electoral serfs. But black voters don't belong to the Democrat Party. Memphis does not belong to the Democrat Party. I don't give a darn that Martin Luther King Jr. was shot there. I don't care that the labor unions and all the other things that happened in Memphis that is of historical significance happened there. In fact, we need to shed the light and shed the truth about Memphis and Martin Luther King Jr. and this whole civil rights operation of the 1960s, how it has drug us down to the pit, and how they've been using your ignorance in order to make you think that everything that came out of the civil rights movement was for your benefit and for your good. No, it was for Democrat benefit and for Democrat good, and to put black Democrat politicians in power in perpetuity at your expense. I stand by that statement. I'll defend and I will debate anybody against that statement. I dare you to challenge me on any of the statements that I've made and show me where it's not true. You know why? Let's look at the results. Is Memphis trash or is it not? They've been in power for decades. It's improved. It is not. The whole state of Tennessee is red, and Memphis is a pile heap of trash. Why? Because Democrats have been in charge, and they've kept it that way on purpose.
That, ladies and gentlemen, now I disagree with the things she says about Dr. King and taking it was not Dr. King's stated belief I don't believe, and I've read extensively from Dr. King's work, to deliver black people to the Democrats. I don't believe that was the goal. The goal was to access freedom and access equal opportunity. And we have it. And isn't it interesting, ladies and gentlemen, that now when the Supreme Court of the United States says the 14th and 15th Amendment to the United States Constitution should be honored, we should be colorblind, and we should not be protecting voting districts on the basis of race. The same people that say they are in favor of the objectives of the civil rights movement, which were to judge people based on the content of their character, not on the color of their skin, are now saying it's racist not to judge people by the color of their skin.
Thanks for listening to The James Golden Show. You can hear The James Golden Show Saturday mornings at 7. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder,
what the heck is going on here?
Roger Stone here. Your dollars are losing ground, but gold isn't. American Sovereign Bullion helps you protect your wealth through real, tangible assets. Through their nationwide wholesaler network, you get some of the best pricing on gold and silver delivered straight to your door. Since 1912, the U.S. dollar has lost 97% of its purchasing power. Meanwhile, gold continues to prove its strength. So call 844-272-2428. That's 844-272-2428. Or visit dyingdollar.com to request your free gold and silver guide. That's dyingdollar.com.